John and Jazz. Welcome. The Diversified Financial Asset Portfolio and Insurance.
Okay, thank you through you, Chair. Just give a summary of the paper. So by way of background, we have this diversified financial asset portfolio. So it's a portfolio of assets worth around currently 320 million invested in New Zealand and offshore markets in equities, bonds and cash instruments. It was identified by the EY and Cameron Partners reviews as not being a strategic asset and unrelated to achieving the strategic objectives of Council. At the same time, on the insurance side, the Crown is reviewing the funding arrangements for natural hazard exposure impacting underground assets. Under the current arrangement, Crown is responsible for 60% of the damage loosely and Council 40%. Now it's worth pointing out that Council does not currently insure this exposure, or it's 40%. A possible future arrangement that Council is looking at considering, a possible future arrangement that the Crown is considering is that they're making councils responsible for all underground losses up to a certain amount, and that will be based on some modelling, which could be, say, a 1 in 500 year event, and on top of that there'll be some risk sharing arrangements. So it could be, for example, above that level 80% Crown, 20% local government. So at the moment, look, we are exposed to an event happening which impacts our underground assets, which could have a flow-on effect depending on its size to our balance sheet and therefore credit rating. One option we are looking at exploring is setting up a fund or a captive insurance company or something similar, and the idea is part of the current funds in the diversified asset portfolio could be used to provide capital into that fund to start with. The remainder of those funds in the DFAP could be used to fund additional CapEx or infrastructure spend. The idea is that we'll look at this proposal, and once we've done some more modelling work, bring back a formal proposal to this committee for approval. Just briefly on other insurance matters, we're currently in the process of beginning the renewal for the 2016-17 year. We're looking to further expand the use of group policies where appropriate, and we expect at this stage, at worst, premiums to be flat, if not coming down slightly. They've also flagged in there that we are looking over the next 12 months to undertake a tender of our insurance broking services. Hopefully that will be on a group basis, subject to Watercare Board approval. I'm happy to take any questions on that.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Sorry?
Happy to move.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wood. Just a question from me. The Local Government Risk Agency, I thought, was pretty much well on its way, isn't it?
Well on its way to formulating their views on risk sharing?
Yes. I mean, they're working very closely.
Yeah.
I mean, we get a report at National Council. Yeah,
they're due to, I think, come out with a paper on suggested way forward, either late April, late May at the latest.
And that's an answer to Christchurch.
Fundamentally, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay, questions? Councillors? Councillor Casey.
I've never really understood why we can't tell Watercare to use the insurance that everybody else is using. So in your report you say here, subject to Watercare's agreement. I mean, why don't we just direct them to join us if they're not willing to see the benefits in it for them and for the rest of Auckland?
Look, on this and a number of issues, we've made the suggestion, but ultimately I guess it's something which the Watercare Board needs to approve.
So through the Chair, why can't we direct Watercare to join us in our insurance arrangements? It makes eminent sense. That's why we're doing this, because it's a saving to ratepayer and it's a better deal. So why would they say no?
If I may, Madam Chair, respond through you to that point. There are a number of matters that we do request Watercare to work with us on. The reality is, as John gave the first response to your question, Councillor Casey, is that they do have their own board, and there are a number of matters that require their board approval.
So has there been any occasion where we've directed them to do something? What's the strongest we can do? What's the strongest we can do? Can we direct them or not?
Through the statement of intent, we can make our requirements quite clear. But with respect to our ability to direct them on a largely operational matter that is their board's responsibility, I believe we would be somewhat limited.
Well, there's words in there, Sue, about procurement, and it's always been to invite them to join us. And I'll ask maybe through the chair of tender and procurement, if the words are sufficient, can we not strengthen it a wee bit so that we actually get the family we're seeking?
Sorry, just repeat the question again.
I was distracting him.
Mr. Chairman, do you not think it would be appropriate for this council to direct the CCOs to join us in this venture, which is to save money and have a better outcome?
No, I don't.
Why not? Through the chair.
Because they have their own board, they have their own management, and that's the way it was set up, and I think that's the appropriate way it was set up, rather than having a bunch of politicians tell them what to do. And in fact, with this insurance, I don't even know whether the deal that we got was superior in price or service to Watercare. They may have, for all I know, may have received a better deal based on price and on service. So we just don't know. And that's for Councillor Casey, that's for their board to determine the best way forward for them, not for us sitting around this room. And I thoroughly agree with that view. It's not for us to sit around here making decisions on behalf of the board of Watercare or the management of Watercare.
Thank you, Councillor Quacks. Councillor Darby. Councillor Darby.
Thanks for that, Dick.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Beauty. Bang. Party's over. You've done it.
You're welcome, Kathy.
Thank you. Councillor Darby.
Chair. So this is this discussion is a progression from our workshop.
Sorry, councillors.
Fair weather friends, Kathy, I told you.
Mr Mayor.
Sorry. Mayor's out of control again.
No, we're not out of control yet. Councillor Darby.
Thanks. So this is moving on from our workshop where we discussed this, and at that workshop I asked some questions about, that so-called rainy day fund, for matter of better description. And it was highlighted by staff that our insurance could cover that, but I had some doubts about that, considering the experience of Christchurch and more recently Dunedin. And it's billions in Christchurch, and it's at least 30 million in Dunedin following the floods of last winter. So I think we need quite a bit more for me to understand the value of the captive insurance company. I mean, that'll be a wholly owned new company owned by this entity. And I think we need, in the next report, to understand the exposure that council may not have with a company like that. How different is it to having a DFA? So pluses and minuses there. I think we also need to understand the flexibility of a captive insurance company versus having a DFA. How quickly, and one of the issues in Christchurch is the insurer was not responsive. It took 4.5 years, remember, for Christchurch City to settle with its insurers or underwriters of insurers. So lack of flexibility there. We don't want to be seeing that sort of issue if Auckland was to face a catastrophe as they faced. And the other one is the ongoing administration costs. Set up a company, directors, what is that whole bundle of costs really going to look like? And overall, how would it be superior? You score it all up, and how would it be superior having a captive insurance company within the portfolio of businesses that we have? And then what I would greatly like to see done is I would like us to go to Christchurch, not physically, but for management to make contact with Christchurch and Dunedin and to learn lessons that they have learned out of the earthquakes and the floods. That's my feedback, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Do you want to comment? That's presumably what the next paper will
Yeah,
cover.
through you, Chair, all very good points and will be addressed as part of the next paper. I should stress, look, this is at very much the concept stage, and there's a lot of analytical work, modelling work and discussions to be had, including all those points that Councillor Darby has raised.
And will you be working with Local Government New Zealand on that too, because they're doing a lot of work on it?
Yep.
Great, thank you. Councillor Quacks.
Oh, Madam Chair, I think I very thoroughly canvassed the question.
No,
Councillor.
you
I
did.
think I've said enough about that.
Okay, well you had
I don't
your,
need to say any
I
more.
had your,
Unless you want to hear it again.
no, I had your name down, so I thought I'd just check it. Councillor Lee.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wood.
Yeah, look, I just have a contrary view to my colleague, Councillor Quacks, in relation to shared services. You know, I think, you know, water care is part of the Auckland Council group, and it's a CCO of this council. And I think, you know, they've got to do their best to try and help the council to get best deals and economies of scale. And for water care to be saying, well, we've got our own board and we do our own thing, I don't think is particularly helpful on occasions. I know that water care, they've made it known they don't like shared services. They've talked about some problems in Wellington with a shared services situation, but I think, you know, when we're dealing with this, and I'd like the officers to really talk to water care again and just, you know, try and tease it out, because water care is a big organisation, but it is part of this council.
So should we all share new court?
Yeah, well, that's a good idea,
And,
George.
well, we've asked them about that as well. And I mean, it's big money we're paying, and it's the ratepayers that we're representing. So I do think that it's an area that we shouldn't overlook, and water care should come on board and be part of the council group. Thank you.
On the ground, George.
It's, yeah, okay. Councillor Crum.
I just wanted to raise the same subject as well. Thanks, Councillor Wood. Just the way it reads is that tender for insurance services is predicated on water care agreeing to it. And given that we've got Sarah Hay in the room, I just wonder whether there is a happy medium between Councillor Casey and Councillor Quacks in terms of...
There has been
This is, we're looking for a Kumbaya result here.
Get them back together.
We want the Rainbow Coalition back together.
Another love fest.
I mean,
There's no love.
is there any other practical step that we can do? I know, Sue, you've mentioned the SOI process, but timing's out for that. Is this the best that we can do to enable the procurement team for an outcome that should conceivably be incredibly beneficial for the entire group?
Through you, Madam Chair, the other actions that we do take is we have a monthly meeting of all the CFOs across the group, whereupon there is significant discussion and, if I may use these words somewhat literally, peer group, if you like. View of the majority of my colleagues are very supportive of the group-wide approach. And what we find, and Sarah and I have found through the group procurement work, as you know, as we actually demonstrate tangible savings, then we find that we get a more positive result. So we have that action, and of course we do also have, Stephen has a monthly forum with the CEs where we do discuss these things as well.
Perhaps sentiment around the table could be conveyed.
It will be.
In such forums.
Rest assured it will be.
Councillor Wayne Walker.
Sure. I'm making the assumption that the changes that the Crown is proposing will capture water care?
Through you, Chair. Again, a very good question, and yes, because they have underground assets as well, so you'd think it would be natural for us to work together on this for the best outcome.
Okay, and would it be fair to say that given that water care is a council-controlled organisation, that ultimately capital costs rest with us?
No, they don't.
Ultimately?
They don't. They're not in the loop.
No way.
No, I mean, they have their own
No.
revenue stream. I mean,
They don't get any money from us.
I just said that.
we-
You just said that, councillor Quack.
Well, it doesn't mean to say that I agree with councillor Quack.
No, but I'm right though.
I'm asking,
You're entitled to your opinion, Wayne, you're not entitled to your own facts.
We need a water care 101
mean-
lesson, I think.
Okay.
there's an important connotation to the word ultimately. I understand that Watercare is a separate company, but we own the company, and we own the company 100%. There have been many instances, and you can refer to case law, where companies have gone belly up or companies have had some issue, and the owner of that company has effectively been liable.
just through you, Chair, I mean, we do guarantee their debt.
Yeah, this year.
Okay, so we guarantee their debt, that's all I need to know. So if we have a circumstance where there's a massive event and a significant amount of Watercare's underground asset is exposed and they have to raise capital and they have to incur debt, we underwrite that debt. So my concern is that Watercare are part of the council umbrella, picking up on the issues that councillor Casey raised. I think there is a matter of encouraging some synergy here. It just doesn't make sense to do it otherwise.
Do you all agree with that,
True.
councillor Walker?